The Georgia Bulldogs take on the Bulldogs from Starkville, Mississippi, Saturday at noon. The Dogs have been rolling, but they will look to avoid a trap game. As always, I'm Chito, and with me is my co-host Keegan, and welcome back to another episode of Dawgs Off the Leash.
Do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs.
I think the Baja men might be in attendance this Saturday come 11 a.m. out there in Mississippi, because it'll be, no matter what, a case of who let the dogs out, because we got dogs versus dogs, and I don't even know if YouTube TV will have anything resolved, so I got to figure out how I'm going to actually watch the game. I know I'm probably not the only one in that boat, but Chito, how are you feeling about this Saturday?
I'm feeling good, and that's kind of coming off of what college football as a whole is kind of reacting to right now, which is the newly released college football rankings. Keegan, I wanted to get your take on it, because for Georgia fans, it was kind of anticlimactic, right? In the AP poll, we were number 5. We came into the rankings right in the same spot. Number 5, behind Alabama, in front of Ole Miss, I believe. How'd you feel about the initial rankings, and where do you kind of, as a Georgia fan, what should we be focused on with these next 3 games? Obviously winning, but, we've got the SEC championship to think about too, right? And then our position. What's going to be most important coming down the stretch?
Well, I think you look at Kirby's comments, and he was very quick to mention that he hasn't even looked at it. He's focused on Mississippi State. If you don't beat Mississippi State, the rankings are irrelevant, and there's still plenty of football to be played for everybody. That's teams on the outside looking in right now. That's teams that think they're sitting pretty and comfortably right now. There's enough football to be played for everyone. Maybe Ohio State. I haven't been talking into this mic. Maybe Ohio State is safe right now, but I feel like everybody has to be a little bit concerned. And if Kirby Smart isn't resting on his laurels, then I don't think we should either. So being ranked 5th, I think, sets a good precedent. And I think that's the biggest thing about these early rankings, is that if you're high enough, it gives you a lot of not just wiggle room, but actually the argument and the narrative later on, because we've seen several times where teams that were kind of fighting to get in don't get as much grace as a team that's been put on the pedestal throughout the season. So I think that's good for Georgia. But just looking at it, Chito, I want to know, do you think any teams got snubbed off the bat?
Yeah, because you got to listen to the conversation. The committee's going to change their mind every year about what they value, right? That's one thing that I've learned. And the analysts who, Heather Dinich and the bunch who've been supporting the committee have talked about the strength of schedule, right? So I feel like if that is the case, Texas A&M has a real clear case to be number 1, right? You're in the SEC, you're playing these week-to-week battles from top to bottom in this conference. Whereas Ohio State, yes, I do think that they're the best team, but that doesn't mean they have the best resume. Indiana as well, right? Their best wins. Texas doesn't look like such a dominant win anymore. That Oregon win that Indiana had doesn't look like such a dominant win anymore. Whereas Texas A&M probably has a few pretty high-level wins that should rank them there. And then you look at a team like Notre Dame. Why is Notre Dame's getting points for their losses, for their 2 losses, right? I haven't seen anything like that, but we know Notre Dame's getting that rank because of the ND on their jerseys, right? And then you look at a team like Georgia Tech. They're upset because they think that they should be ranked higher for what they've done so far this season. Well, in the ACC, which has been down by every metric, their strength of schedule is even worse than what people thought it was going to be. Clemson's down. Miami's down. Florida State, who got that win over Bama, they're down. So I think it makes sense for Georgia Tech to take a tumble. I think they're a good team. But at the same time, if that's what we're going to talk about, we have to show consistency. And I'm not seeing that yet. And if that's the case, we might as well just stick with the AP poll until the final week. It just didn't really move me this first CFP. But it's not important this week either.
Yeah, I agree. I think Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt could arguably have made it still in the top 12. It's a recency bias thing, I think, just because they've lost recently. But how in the world, you mentioned it, Notre Dame ranked 10th, but how in the world are they counting Notre Dame's losses, but in the same breath of logic able to put one of their losses lower than Notre Dame with the same amount of total losses. They're saying Notre Dame deserves to be 10th because, well, they lost a close one to Miami. But by the way, Miami, we're not going to give you credit when we rank you. We're just going to use you as a
It makes no sense. There's
totem
no consistency. Yeah.
in an argument. Like,
Crazy.
Notre Dame just gets the biggest benefit of the doubt because they're a prime mover financially. So if they're even close, they have enough pull up top in the political realm of how these companies and these things are influenced a little bit. That's existing, but also they have a very large fan base that puts a lot of money and, you know, they're passionate and whatnot, but they want Notre Dame to be a part of it if they're
And we
on
know
the
this
bubble.
now too, right? Like we know that it's always been that way, but now when you have kind of sports gambling at like a premium and NIL where everybody's getting paid, like they can no longer even pretend like these things aren't factors. Fortunately for us,
Good point.
all of these things will be decided on the field, but different programs are going to get favoritism. A lot of other programs think that about us in Georgia as well, right? Like we're kind of dispelling some of that because all of our games are fourth quarter games, you know, or maybe that's confirming it. I don't know, but it's a weird thing right now. So it's just something, if you're the type to bet money on stuff like this, I'd recommend that you not, because it's not the way it used to be. These outcomes are a little bit sus these days, but I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. So
Yeah, on Dawg Nation Daily, they mentioned that our opponents get penalized less on average than like basically the 120 in FBS. Like we're towards the lower 10th percentile of teams that are getting quote unquote favorable penalties just on a statistical average. I think Georgia has set such a high bar and there's such a reverence that they're not like giving us any lean actually. And sometimes in these critical moments, maybe we do get a favorable call, but that's not to say that that's always how it is or Georgia just gets off easy. And especially we're not the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, good Lord, those cats literally get every break. That is definitely not us. Like, we actually historically have gotten breaks the other way. So every Georgia fan knows that. Tyler Simmons was not offsides, etc. Like, we have a handful of those. And I think if you're talking too much about the referees, though, it speaks to the nature of the competitiveness of your program. And luckily for Georgia, we get to talk about the X's and O's and what happens on the field, regardless of how the referees are calling it. So, Chito, I know that a lot of people have already started the conversations since this ranking has come out. The SEC contenders, is it going to be better for their program to make an entrance into the SEC championship game, or are they going to be better suited having a week off to recuperate, forget tradition, and then just be sitting pretty for a first-round home game in the playoff? Chito, what say you? How are you feeling about Georgia potentially getting an SEC championship bid, and is that actually something we want this year?
there are a couple ways that this can go, in my opinion. So as it stands right now, according to ESPN Analytics, Georgia is favored 79% over 21% to beat Mississippi State. We already know they're going to do the whole cowbell thing. They got a fever. The only prescription is more cowbell. So it's going to be raucous. A lot of people are considering this a trap game. For Georgia, obviously, Kirby, Smart, and company are going to focus on winning out. That's always going to be our focus, regardless of what else is going on with the information that we've been given. But as the SEC stands right now, Texas A&M is the number 1 team, and Alabama is number 2. 5-0 in the conference. Texas A&M obviously undefeated. So as a Georgia fan, I think the best case scenario is for us to win out and us to miss the SEC championship game while winning out. And I say that because if you look at the bracket that came out, I think as it stands, 2 minds here. We'll play Memphis to start if everything were the same today, or maybe a Virginia, or maybe an Oregon, right? But at the same time, if you can see that you are on the side of the bracket that Ohio State is on, I would rather not do that. That's kind of my stipulation. If I have the ability to move out of Ohio State side of the bracket, I'm going to do it, or I want that to happen. No other team really strikes fear into my heart. I know Ohio State is a championship quality team. I think we could beat Indiana. I think we could beat Alabama the second time like we've done before. Even Texas A&M, as good as they are, they don't scare me, but I don't want to see Ohio State. So if I can find a sweet spot within those 2 scenarios, Keegan, that's what I want. I want the rest. I don't want the SEC championship, but I want to stay away from anything and everything Ohio State.
It's one of those things where if we were having a dominant 2022 type season and we were beating teams by 20, 30 points every game we play, then I would be like, hey, let's get more trophies in the trophy case. Let's get an SEC championship. This is what we do, baby. But we're talking about thin skin of our teeth sometimes margin of victory. We're going to play those type of games, and it's going to be a lot of magic. How about some good luck and set us up for a run with an opponent that's seated much lower, hopefully deserving that lower seat, giving Georgia an advantage at home versus what is sure to be a slobber knocker of a game with any of the top 3-4 teams in the SEC that could end up in the SEC championship. And like right now, I guess if things were headed on this trajectory, we would miss it regardless if we win out or not. Texas A&M, Alabama, they still have some games that could trip them up, especially Bama. I mean, LSU.
The Auburn one's probably in the bag, but yeah, LSU for sure if they come out kind of angry. And then even Texas A&M, they're playing on the road at Missouri this weekend. And then I think Texas, I want to say that's maybe a road game for them. I'm not sure about that, but those are the two chances for them. And maybe what is their strategy? Will they try to be like, hey, we'd rather not? Or is it because they haven't had an SEC championship in their history? They're like, let's go get it. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. And that's why you really only try to control what you can, because when you start playing these types of funny games, you more times than not win some really funny prizes. So you got to be careful not to do too much, but you also have to be looking forward. It's a game of margins right now, and you do not want to see some people on your side of the bracket if you can help it.
Yeah, and it's a game of attrition at the end of the day. So, like, even if Bama gets through their schedule, like, how could they not have some attrition because of it? And they have LSU, and then they have Oklahoma, both at home, but those are two big boy programs that are going to really test Alabama, and it's not going to just come easy if they fuck around and play sloppy like they have at certain times throughout the season. So no one has it easy right now in the SEC. So I'm with you, Chito. I think, yeah, if we dodge this SEC championship game, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But it's a question of hindsight, right? If you know you're going to go on a run and win all these games, then you're saying SEC championship. But if you don't know that and it's a matter of getting some luck and maybe not having to play every single tough opponent that you can, maybe you enjoy that week off in December and cook some steaks on the grill, like get ready for a playoff game. Things could be worse. So Georgia fans have that to wrestle with. Definitely want to hear what you guys think. So maybe we'll post that as our question of the day tomorrow on Friday. But that kind of leads us to Mississippi State, dude. And I know me, for one, watching the film on this team, you learn a lot. They're a team that struggled, but they have some ball players. So what are you seeing right now for Mississippi State that's sure to probably keep this coaching staff up at night?
Yeah, I see a coaching staff that has deserved a lot of respect, and Kirby Smart made every effort to give them that. This is the definition of a team with good losses. Only good losses. The SEC is a tough conference, and this team is 5-4 now, trying to get bowl eligible, and they're going to do it at somebody's expense, whether it's us, Ole Miss, their final game, or whoever's in between. But their losses, just to give you a bit of perspective about what their seasons look like. They lost at home in overtime to Tennessee 41-34. They got spanked at Texas A&M 31-9. That's probably the worst of the bunch. They lost at Florida by 23-21. And then against Texas, they lost in overtime at home 45-38. So you can say, hey, maybe Mississippi State's playing up. maybe Texas, their defense isn't as good as it was. But I'm seeing a lot of good teams here, talented teams, at least in the SEC, and some pretty decent scores. So this is not a team that you can play with. And I think most people have heard of by now, Blake Shapen is the quarterback that has really led the charge. Keegan, what are your initial thoughts on this other Bulldog team from way over there in Mississippi?
Well, Florida and Texas both have pretty damn good defenses. So just looking at the film, this is a team that will play basically video game football. Like, you can sit there and play realistic type of football on the video game if you want, run the clock, play conservative, get in the wishbone package, but then you're more than likely going to be playing against someone online who's going to score on you in about 3 passes if they're going to score, because that's just how it is on the video game. Well, literally watching their film, it's something like that, because they have Brendan Thompson, the transfer, Anthony Evans, from last year who's taken a big step forward and really shown out with that big step for them this year. 2 amazing weapons. And then what's the quarterback's name, Chito? I forget even.
The quarterback would be Blake Shapen. Yeah, and he's having quite a year as well.
Yeah, so he's deadly. And then not only that, they have a backup who could easily be a great spell running type quarterback. He came in when Blake got a little bit dinged up in the last game, and he ended up throwing a pick, but it wasn't his fault. It was just bounced off the receiver's hand, so it was one of those weird situations. But he had a great running touchdown.
They also use him in some funny packages as well. They'll line him up at wideout and try to get a little tricky with some double passes. So something that the defense will definitely have to watch out for.
I'm talking about in a world of athletic quarterbacks, he is one of the closest things to a Michael Vick level of athleticism. Like, just watching him, you can tell the dude's got the wiggle, the vision. So, hey, he could very well be selling insurance with a hell of a highlight reel in about 5 years, but at the same time, dude has some elite traits, and that's really all it takes is having a coach that knows how to use elite traits. And it looks like Mississippi State, maybe for what it's worth, they're probably playing a little bit above what the roster has granted them. And at the same time, they have one of the best offenses in the SEC, and their time of possession is like nil. So they're really scoring fast, and hey, that's something to be reckoned with. And then on the defensive side, dude, they have quite the pass rush, like interior pressure, outside pressure. So they can do a lot to disrupt what Georgia wants to do. But Chito, what would you kind of enact if you're Mike Bobo? First things first, going into Starkville at 11 a.m., what are you thinking?
Yeah, when I was trying to parse through some of the information and the data, I was trying to get a good feel for this team as well. I can't really tell what type of matchup it's going to be. They have a lot of similar strengths that Georgia has, believe it or not, but then they also have some weaknesses where I think that we can exploit them. So just to run through a few of their quick numbers, they are 38th in the nation in points per game with 33.2, but 73rd in the nation, giving up 24.7. So they can be exploited there. I felt like coming in that their passing game would be like super elite. They're actually only 47th in the country. So good, but not great, right? And that's 250 passing yards per game. And then the turnover margin. That is where I think that this game is probably going to be won or lost. And you can say that for a lot of games, but when you are 30th in the nation with a +4 turnover margin, you can beat a team like Georgia at home during a noon game if you play a good game and you turn them over. You mentioned the cornerbacks. They are long, which could give us a lot of problems. So for Georgia, I think kind of off the top of my head, some keys. We want to try to win that time of possession game, not Mississippi State, right? So third down conversions, red zone efficiency and opportunities, which Bobo has been just killing as of late. We have to keep that up. And then turnovers, right? This is a road game in the SEC. It's always environment and turnovers. So if we can be disciplined, a staple of a Kirby Smart team, I think that we can weather the storm because our offense has also been pretty good and should give their defense some fits, especially because they've been susceptible to the run game, which Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier and Gunnar Stockton are all clicking on every single cylinder. So that should bode well for Georgia.
Yeah, they have a really good shell of their defense. Like we talked about how they have size, but really they have skill also and leadership. So it's really a trifecta of traits that make them have a pretty solid secondary. But as far as the run defense, that's really where they have somewhat of an Achilles heel. So we got to get Nate Frazier big touches. Like we cannot be shy to run the football, do so in creative ways, and give Gunnar Stockton a chance to enact these bubble screens when they're not expecting it, keep them off rhythm, because if we play into their strength of a good secondary and a good pass rush, passing in obvious downs and long downs, we're going to be set up for a much longer game than either one of us want to see, and I know most people in Dawg Nation would like to see.
Yeah, and I wanted to second that about Anthony Evans. I think there's this misconception that when players leave Georgia, there's some sort of fight or breakup that happened. You know, you look at the Carson Beck situation, that was probably the most prominent, but Anthony Evans was just in a deep room with a lot of talent. And of course, he was already talented that he's going and having a great year. So 52 receptions for 650 plus yards, 4 touchdowns is great, and good for him for taking that opportunity and not wasting it, right? Him and Brendan Thompson, who has 716 yards and 6 touchdowns, are going to be a problem. because they have track speed and they're going to be trying to run all up and down our secondary. And then with Blake Shapen, he's already eclipsed the 2,000-yard passing mark. He's feeding his guys. He's being a point guard in this offense. So that's something that we are going to have to stay on top of. 15 touchdowns is nothing to scoff at, especially at home when they're trying to make some noise and they're trying to be bowl eligible. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And he may not look like the most athletic guy. Most people want to say he's about 6 feet tall. But every opportunity he gets during a read or an option play, he will pull the ball and he will take it. Now, he's not always going to be explosive and scoring. He's more so just going to be running just so to keep the defense honest. But that is still something that can hurt you on critical down, 3rd and short, 4th and short. So that is something the defense is going to have to stay locked in on. Luckily for us, we have C.J. Allen, who has been locked in and was all over the field last week. I expect him to continue that at Mississippi State. So I think Georgia's in good hands. It's just a team that we have to take seriously. And lucky for us, we got a head coach who loves that challenge. He loves that. He loves to keep his guys focused. I think we are the better team, but we're going to have to play like it on Saturday.
Yeah, you're playing a team that could have a shootout game with you. So it's like, do you want to have a shootout with Mississippi State with the cowbells ringing, or would you like to control the clock, try to make it a little bit more physical of a game and not get beat in these obvious matchup, not I would say nightmares, but challenges that will definitely test Georgia if we just run straight into where they're strongest, right? So let's not do that.
Yeah, I think this week it is going to be incumbent. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. I'm asking Bobo to just take what the defense gives you. We've talked about these DBs being long. I really don't want Gunner being uncomfortable taking shots too deep down the field. I want him finding Zachariah Branch underneath. I want him finding Dylan Bell underneath. Wheel routes. Maybe some of that goes deep. Tight end work, running the ball. I do not want Gunner putting the ball in harm's way. I want to hold time of possession here. I want to work the field every single drive. I want to ground Mississippi State into dust every single drive. So I'm actually going to say, Bobo, chill out. Throw them screens this week. Extend the run game however you can. I'm not worried about being explosive. But with that being said, if I can go ahead and give my score prediction, Keegan, I'm going to say the offense has a bit of a day here. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to keep up with us in that aspect. And I'm going to go 38 for the Dogs and 27 for Mississippi State.
Dude, I'm with you. I think if Georgia can actually open it up, this might be one of the few remaining chances outside of Charlotte to do so. So I second that wave of motion. I want to see Georgia put a 40 burger on the scoreboard. So give me Dogs on top, 41 to Mississippi State's even 20. Fingers crossed.
Only one Bulldog can stand, dog.
Ever since you picked Vanderbilt, I just want to do the anchor down. We're not even the Commodores. I just want to throw it.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Go Dogs.
Okay.
And anchor down.
So I guess maybe I'm wrong about this. Is Vandy on a bye this week? Or who do they play? I didn't have them in my pick 6.
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
Auburn is at Vandy.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
with that being said, I'll let you go ahead and lead the pick 6
All
and see what we got. See what we got this week.
Well, I don't anticipate Auburn beating Vandy since we mentioned it. No upset special for Auburn. I think Vandy is trying to make a push. They're 16th right now, so we'll see. I think they have it in them. They definitely have a quarterback that's willing to lead the charge. So I would love to see Vandy in the playoffs, honestly. Not necessarily play them, but I would love for them to be a playoff team. That would be great. A good story to follow. God forbid Georgia get knocked out, but if they did, I would root for Vandy. I would be saying anchor down all day, Bo. Chito, what games are you looking forward to this weekend?
The first game that I'm looking for is number 7 BYU traveling to number 8 Texas Tech. BYU is still undefeated in the Big 12. Texas Tech 8-1, so this one is going to determine a lot. And the winner of this one's probably, maybe they end up in a scenario where they play again. But I've seen a lot more from Texas Tech. I can't say that I've watched a whole lot of BYU, but I feel confident taking Texas Tech at home here. What do you think, Keeks?
BYU only beat Colorado by a field goal. Their only other notable win is a win against Utah I'm going to take Texas Tech, who has all the NIL oil money and will be lathering up.
All right, game number 2, I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here. I know everybody is super excited. I know I just made a big a big deal about Texas A&M being ranked number 1, but this is the SEC, guys, and anything can happen. And Missouri is one of those teams who can beat you any given week. They've missed opportunities. I think they played really well against, I want to say, Alabama, and then their other loss I don't remember, but this is a quality team. And I think Texas A&M with their new ranking maybe gets a little bit too big for their britches. And Missouri comes out with the upset at home for the 3:30 game on ABC. Give me the Tigers.
Everything you said about that chalks out, and I could see it happening, but I, for some reason, think that this Texas A&M team, led by Mike Elko, who made Duke relevant, which is in itself just shy of making him a miracle worker, making Duke relevant in football. That led team, this Mike Elko led Texas A&M team, I think they are the real deal, and I see Texas A&M in a close one winning on the road at Mizzou. Chito, the number 9 Oregon Ducks are traveling to the number 20 Iowa Hawkeyes. Dan Lanning, Oregon, they've taken one on the chin. They're looking to rebound, hold their number 9 ranking. Do they face any kind of upset special on the road against Iowa? Known to do it too, by the way. We all know Iowa teams, Cyclones or Hawkeyes or otherwise, no matter what, them corn-fed boys are always ready to play. So they got a shot.
This is a Big Ten matchup that is going to decide a lot in that conference. Oregon has looked like a good team at times, been really explosive in a lot of areas. Iowa, like you said, these are teams that they love football. You wouldn't expect being out there in Iowa, but this is what they love to do. Normally, Iowa is not very sexy offensively, but the defense normally brings it. So let's go offensive juggernaut versus defensive juggernaut. In a lot of scenarios, I'm going to pick the defense. But here, with that roster and Dan Lanning and that quarterback, I'm going to go Oregon pulling off the win. Not by a large margin unless Iowa can't score, but I feel good picking the number 9 team, Oregon Ducks.
All right, yeah, I think Oregon pulls it out, but you know what? Scratch that. Ducks are winning. Ducks are winning. Ducks are winning. It was going to be cute. It was going to be fun, but I second-guessed my second guess, and Dan Lanning and the Ducks, they win it.
Well, this is one that I'm kind of a little bit upset about because Penn State dropped the ball. And in the Big Ten, there are only so many good games because there are only so many good teams towards the top. Penn State's fallen to 3-5. Meanwhile, Indiana's the number 2 team ranked in the college football playoff rankings at 9-0. I only put them on here because, again, this was supposed to be a good game. Indiana should steamroll, but can Penn State at least look like they have a spine? Can a coaching staff or some players have some pride and at least make it a push? Like you love to say, Keegan, can we at least get a push?
Dude, I think this is push city. You're at Penn State. I think teams have had a pattern now of firing their coach on a bye week, build up some steam. So they're trying to do exactly what Florida just did to us. And the thing is if Kurt Cignetti were the coach of Penn State, I would be. Now they got Mendoza, if that's how you say his name. That dude's a baller. But like Cignetti's a deal breaker. He's an X factor. That's why he's one of the highest paid coaches in college football right now. He's the closest thing personality wise to Nick Saban that we got, and might be the closest thing we get for a while when it comes to Nick Saban type personality. So I think Indiana is going to win this game, but why not Penn State have a shot? Because on an on-paper metric, the roster they have, they've just shit the bed all season, but they are a dangerous team. You wouldn't want to play them, and that's kind of what makes the SEC beautiful, is that we have a lot of teams like Penn State that could be down bad but are dangerous on paper. The Big Ten doesn't have as many, but Penn State is what I would call or consider, at least in this, SEC biased brain of mine, kind of like an SEC type of football team. So don't be surprised if at 1 o'clock you guys are getting text about Indiana being in a dogfight with Penn State, because this surely has the makings to be ugly, because Penn State's talented. So, and to sum it all up, Chito, it's like I'm on like chapter 5, but I think this will be an entertaining game to watch. But still, give me the Hoosiers. Indiana, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, Mendoza already has 2,100 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 4 picks on the season. So he's putting together a campaign. So I can't wait to see the scores off of that one. Now, a similar situation, team with championship aspirations, lets the whole city down, fires their coach. And now let's talk about LSU. A very talented roster. Brian Kelly is gone. Can they bounce back and cause problems for Alabama and Tuscaloosa this weekend?
I think they can, because if there's been anybody in that whole story that really has disappointed me, it's been Garrett Nussmeier. I think he was a quarterback coming into this season I expected to make a Heisman push. Now, he's doing pretty well, but not as good as I thought he could be. And if there's a trend that we've seen from these interim coaches, it's like they come in like consultants with the outside eye, and they try to double down on what the team is good at. And I think they have some dangerous weapons in the passing game. So I think, dude, LSU is even more stacked than Penn State that we were just talking about. They're a team extremely dormant in their expectations. No wonder they fired Brian Kelly. It's not because of how bad he's been the last few years. He's actually done okay.
It's just really because he's without excuse now, to be honest with you.
Exactly. It's that every year he's kind of undershot the mark. And the mark was so high that, you know, there's a conversation there for high expectations, but he's, at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and this is an LSU team that could be dangerous, dude. I think this is going to be even more entertaining than that. I just don't even see Bama losing until the playoffs, but so give me Bama. But damn it, it's going to be an entertaining game, and either this LSU team or Oklahoma could be the one to give them another loss.
On the record, I'm on the Oklahoma train. I called the upset against Tennessee. All I said was all they need is their quarterback to be healthy. That defense is elite. A lot of people didn't want to hear it then, but they're going to hear it now. LSU, I think they are a lot more talented than Penn State. I think that they will give Alabama some issues. I know they got embarrassed against Texas A&M, but I expect them to clean some of that up. I don't know who the interim head coach is right now, but Alabama's got some tough sledding. Like you said, LSU and Oklahoma are big boy programs. You're not just sliding through there. And if you do get those W's, you're probably going to bang up that team pretty good. So it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. I know we've got Texas at home, but I'll take our schedule compared to what some other teams still have in the SEC. So give me Bama here. But Bama is really going to have to fight to close out their season. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, LSU had a talented team last year, and then they added probably the most talented group of transfers out of anyone in the portal. So, like, there's no reason for them to have been as bad as they were this season. So, yeah, definitely going to be an entertaining
And it could just be a style of play type of thing, right?
Yeah.
You're hearing this conversation going around in the NFL. A lot of these teams, they want their quarterback just to stay in shotgun and 5 wide and all of this stuff. Sometimes it is better for an offense to stick that quarterback underneath center, run the ball a little bit, play action, and then when you need to, you can spread it out. You can always go shotgun. You don't have to play. It doesn't have to be like a Manning. It doesn't always have to be like a Madden situation all the time, right? Slow the game down, hold possession, get some first downs, get in field goal range. I think, again, with the Brian Kelly situation, and sorry to bring this back up, but sometimes you're just misusing the talent that you have, right? Like, take a second and find there are different ways to win. Look at Georgia right now. Like, we started off focusing on the run, and we couldn't get this high-powered offense going, right? So Mike Bobo's throwing screens. We can go deep. We can use our tight ends. We can use our wide receivers. We got a running quarterback. We will use whatever we have to be successful. And other rosters need to start to learn to do that too. Joe Burrow and them are gone, and that was a great offense. You can run a little bit from the power or from power situations. One back, put a H-back there, run some I formation. You can do that, and it will be successful.
Yeah, and you said it, big boy programs. There's just levels to it, and I think the LSU is kind of in the top third of talented heavyweight contenders.
I got one more. I do this every time that these two teams play, just being hopeful. I don't think Notre Dame is going to lose, but they are taking on Navy, who is 7-1. I wish that they would just get upset. I don't like Notre Dame because they always get love that they haven't deserved. So it should be an interesting week. And then also, basketball is in full swing. Keegan. Unfortunately, Trae Young is hurt, but the Los Angeles Lakers are coming to Atlanta, Georgia, with Luka Doncic and the red-hot Los Angeles Lakers at 7-2. Luka is my MVP for this season. No disrespect to SGA. The offseason story was all about Luka getting in shape. He's been one of the most talented point guards in the league for a few years. Don't care what anybody says. 40 points per game. I cannot wait to see this team take on Atlanta. Now, LeBron is still out, my favorite player, but Luka is slowly trying to become like the next generation of my favorite player. Keegan, any thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks so far this season? I think you guys are about 500, 4-4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are still gelling, but what they have as far as pieces that can develop, I don't think the core has ever been as talented as it is right now. Dyson Daniels is an elite defender who's getting better and better at shooting. Zachary Risachet had like 11 points in the first quarter the other night. He can be dominant, and if he puts it together, it will be scary. He's developed a little bit. Like, his defense is really solid, his shooting's really good, and the team overall is showing that they can move the ball decently. Trae Young being out isn't necessarily the worst thing for this team because luckily it's not super severe for Trae Young. And with the type of defense that Atlanta is putting on the court right now, mixed in with the shooting percentages that they're holding down, I think Atlanta is a really dangerous team that definitely could make a push, especially if they find a way to integrate what Trae Young is doing. This team is super solid, dude. They could easily be having one of the best records right now. LA better come correct because Atlanta has quite the defense.
Yeah, and I'm not super worried about LA coming correct. They are on fire right now. I think, to your credit, the Hawks would be a much better team if they were healthy, especially in an East that is down because of injuries. You've got Indiana's down with Halliburton out. You've got Austin down. They've traded most of their good players. So it's going to be incumbent on some of these other Eastern Conference teams, Cleveland, New York, Orlando. This is a year to make a push. This is a year to try to, win that division, go for the conference title. So we'll see if Atlanta can get healthy. Still excited regardless. Not the best conditions, but hey, that's how the game of basketball goes.
Yeah, they're currently tied for first in the Southeast standings with Miami, both 4-4. So I think this Hawks team really could be dangerous, dude. Like, they have put a lot of impressive offseason moves together, and as a longtime Hawks fan, I can say this is probably the most exciting team we've put out, 6-7 years, something like that. So really, really impressed with the front office.
Yeah, and the Lakers beat Wemby and San Antonio Spurs last night. They are number 2 in the Western Conference. They finally have a big man. They got Marcus Smart helping with the defense. Aravia has come in and looked like a man possessed. Austin Reeves out here dropping 50-point games. All of this is being done without one of the best players to ever touch a basketball, LeBron James. So the West is deep. I'm not going to make any proclamations right now, but the Lakers and JJ Redick are going to be a problem.
Yeah, a lot of people were doubting whether DeAndre Ayton would fit. So far, so good.
They were wrong.
Yeah, look, video game style, absolutely. Can he sustain a high level of consistency throughout the season? He hasn't really done it in his career at an elite level, but he's always been on the cusp of being an elite center. So it's a gamble.
And the best part is on this roster.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to know this, but I've been watching the Lakers since LeBron's gotten there. And last year specifically, really all they needed was a center to give them 10 points and 10 rebounds. That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. He doesn't have to be elite. You got 2 Hall of Famers on your team, and this roster is super deep. So Ayton's going to be fine because he don't have to do a whole lot. So we'll see. It's a long season, and we'll talk more after Hawks versus Lakers. We'll talk more after Georgia and Mississippi State and Dawg Nation. Always a blast. Keegan, I appreciate you tapping in with me today to cover the other Bulldogs. Make sure you guys tap in with us wherever you get your podcast, whether that is Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as always, guys, you know what it is.
Off the leash.
Off the leash.
I do it for the dogs.